And this is not just decoration, this is not just protocol, but I have found that um, when we create a solid external structure, it's easier for energies that are too intense for our body to handle to be used and moved in that space. This is why music is such a beautiful tool, because music is structure, is taking vibration and harmonizing it. It's giving it some order. It's taking all sorts of sounds and putting them in a sequence that creates harmony. But this is also why our breath is so important, because through our breath we're taking prana, the energy of life of the earth, which is everywhere, and embodying it, giving it a structure, a shape, for as long as it's in our body, and then releasing it. We're giving it a shape, a space, and a pace as well. So the main takeaway that I invite you to sit with from the first day is that a true sense of safety can only come from within. As long as it's derived from something or someone else, you'll never be 100% sure, because things change, people change. Secondly, your connection to your mind, to your breath, to your body is the beginning or they are some of the best tools you have for safety. Because nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can take the way you breathe away from you. Nobody can take the way you speak away from you. Nobody can take the way you move, the way you connect to your body. You can be in a jail cell and still feel free inside, because there are freedoms that cannot be taken away, and I think that's our essence. And I think if we are to live a life that is stable, and by stable I don't mean that it lacks risks, that it lacks excitement, or that it lacks adventure, but I mean that it has a solid structure. If we're to live a life that is like that and that is big, we need to be able to depend on things that are beyond what can be moved and taken away from us. We need to learn to rely on something untouchable. And these are some things that, if somebody touches our breath, we die. Somebody takes it away from us. But as long as we have it, we're free to choose. It's also another invitation to have compassion for other people, because most of us, when we close down, it's not because we think that he's a bad person, she's a bad person, I don't like him, I don't like her, but because we feel a certain threat, a certain judgment. There's something about this person or about the situation that makes me uneasy, and I feel a threat to my peace, so I'm gonna close down. And if I feel very threatened, I'm gonna be aggressive. So the invitation towards compassion is understanding that everyone and everything that has hurt you through your life, no matter how heavy it was not done by a person who felt safe in that moment. And this is not an excuse for what they did, or me condoning poor behavior, but this is an invitation to not take it personal. It's a lot of times, beyond the pain that we receive and we experience, we create another pain, which is, why did I allow myself to receive that? And then I'm not worthy of being respected, I'm not worthy of having boundaries, I'm not worthy of speaking up. So the pain that we receive is one thing, but I think a bigger thing is how much we punish ourselves for having received that. And most of the healing that we will do during the next few days is in relationship to this. The pain we have felt, but most importantly, the pain we have inflicted on ourselves. And to always check in with yourself, when you're feeling disconnected, to ask yourself, like, where in this moment am I not feeling safe? And to honor that. And to draw boundaries, because your breath gives you structure, but the way you communicate also does. Communication is like music. We grab something that is ephemeral. Language, there's so much we can take from, so many sounds we can make, and we carefully choose the words that are to come out of our mouth. It brings structure into something that is purely energetic. And through our words we create the structure and the culture that of our relationships. In most of the work that I've done with men, something very, very common is that women and everyone will treat a man in the way he allows himself to be treated. A person who constantly feels disrespected, stepped over, victimized, is someone who has treated people, who has taught people in a way to treat him or her like that. And this is not me saying if someone abused you, you're responsible for it, or it's your fault. Not at all. But this is to say that we have a choice about the kind of environments and the kind of people that we keep around. And that structure also means having a clear boundary and understanding of what are my limits. And boundaries are not walls that are placed between me and the other. Boundaries are me showing the person, hey, this is my house, this is where the door is, this is where you come inside. Before you come, you knock and you take your shoes off. Boundaries is giving the other a map of how to interact with me, so we both feel nourished from that interaction. A lack of boundaries ends up being, I don't know what word to use, a disservice. Like it ends up affecting both people. Because maybe I receive a guest in my house at a time that was not convenient for me, and I don't tell him to take his shoes off. And when he leaves, I think he's careless because he didn't respect my sleep, and he didn't respect that, like when I keep my house clean, right? And the whole time that we're receiving him, maybe I'm annoyed, upset, resentful, and not welcoming because I'm thinking, what, the time and the shoes. And then he leaves thinking, wow, this guy was so unwelcoming. I made some of my time, I came at a late hour to spend time with him, and he was so unwelcoming and he didn't pay attention to what I was sharing. And both people end up feeling unseen. So boundaries is not only for me, but it's for the other. Boundary is a gift for the other person. Because a boundary allows them to know how to connect with me. What works and what doesn't, what's important for me. And a lot of times we make mistakes not out of volition, not out of being bad people or out of wanting to hurt, but just out of ignorance. Because we all want to play a game where we all win, especially in our relationships. And what better way to allow the other to win with me than to tell them how they can win, to give them the rules of the game and tell them, hey, this is the way that things work very well with me. That'll feel great because I think everyone who cares for us and who loves us and who wants to be around us wants to win with us and wants us to feel good about that too. So a boundary is always a gift. Even if initially it can feel like a tense conversation, it's always a gift. Because the alternative is resentment, frustration, and eventual explosion. And then there's nothing you can do. There's too much pain and it all comes out at once. But if step by step, day by day, we honor our structure, our integrity, then we will have an opportunity to feel safer within ourselves and allow others to feel safe in the connection to us. Structure is also the way we take care of our space, the way we make our bed, the way that we keep our belongings. And structure is an invitation to taking care of the easiest or the simplest things that life has for us. Because if we do this, I feel that the rest is easier. There's already enough things that are confusing within our internal emotional worlds. There's a lot of things that we're processing, trying to understand, traumas that we want to heal, emotions that we're stuck. And then on top of that, we have to deal with a home that is messy, with a disorganized workspace, with dirty clothing, with anxious breath, with a lack of boundaries. It just makes it a lot harder.